Hi, third grade. So it's time for language arts, and this week we will not be reading a story, so you do not have to worry about taking any tests. We are going to be working on writing this week. We are going to do our final writing piece for the year, and you guys have worked so hard on your writing, and you have come such a long way that I know this is going to be great. We are going to be writing a letter. And this is an easier writing piece than like when we had to write about a famous African American and we had to do research and we had to find facts. This is going to be more personal, and it kind of ties in nicely with our last story that we read about Oliver K. Woodman. And we are going to be writing a letter to my mother. You've never met my mother, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. My mother is now 84 years old, and she lives by herself in the same house that she's lived in since she and my dad were married. My dad passed away about 7 years ago, so she's been living there by herself for the last 7 years, but she has a wonderful little dog named Shotzi to keep her company. And she had 6 children, and we all go to visit my mother. So she has lots of visitors. My mother really has, I'm going to tell you maybe the top 3 things that she loves. And probably the first one is people. My mother has more friends than anyone I know. She used to get birthday cards. At her birthday, there might be 50 cards. That was not unusual. Now, as she's gotten older, many of her friends have passed away, and she's not able to write cards to people anymore either. But back before we had internet, everybody mailed cards out for birthdays, and she used to get so many birthday cards, it was just crazy. Well, she has friends who are old and friends who are young, and that's been the way it's been for her for always. She had friends who were elderly people when she was young, and she's had young people who are friends with hers now. She has some kids who they might be like in college now, and she was friends with them when they were little kids, and they come by to visit her and say hello. She was kind of like the nice lady who lived on the corner house with all the flowers and the little white dog. That's kind of who she was known as. And to all the neighborhood kids, she's known as Grandma. She's not their grandma. She's my mother, but we like it because the kids think of her as Grandma. And when she would, kids would come over, she'd always have cookies for them. My mother baked a lot. She can't do that very much anymore, but she still likes to offer people cookies when they come by. So she really loves people, and she'd love to meet you. She asks about you guys all the time. The other thing that she really loves is flowers. Now, again, she's gotten very old now so that she cannot go out and garden like she used to, but she used to have beautiful, beautiful flower gardens. They were so beautiful that, in fact, people from the newspaper and a magazine company came and took pictures of her yard, and so her pictures of her yard have appeared in a magazine and in the newspaper several times. And she also, there was a man who came and took some pictures and put a picture of her yard in a calendar. So that was something that she loved doing, and she still loves flowers. So I send her flowers about once a month. The other thing she loves, her dog. She loves all dogs. She and her dog, and again, she can't get out and walk like she used to, but she used to walk and she knew all the dogs in town. She and her dog would stop and visit with all the other dogs in town. And she knows the names of all the other dogs in town. And listen to this. One year, she had a birthday party for her dog and invited the neighbor dogs and the neighbor kids. And a man from the newspaper came and took a picture, and it was on the front page of the newspaper. So those are 3 of the things that my mother really, really loves: people, flowers, and dogs. Now, when we look back at our letters from Oliver K. Woods, I want you to make a note of something that you notice every letter always has. It's up here. And if I can turn the page, we see it again and again. It's the date and the place. And that's what we're going to be writing on our letters up here. And then we're going to write, Dear Mrs. Hardwig. And I'm going to help you with that spelling. But before I do that, I'm going to get out my sample letter. Now, you know that you cannot just copy this letter. You can write something similar. We're only going to work on our first paragraph today. So I'm going to read the whole letter to you, and then we'll talk about the first paragraph. Dear Mrs. Hardwig. Oh, wait. Up here in the corner, see how I did that for you? April, and we'll put our date. It's May now, and Hendersonville, North Carolina. But we might also write Immaculata School, Hendersonville, North Carolina, because she'll like to know that you're from Immaculata School. And then I wrote, Dear Mrs. Hardwig, comma. Notice I indented my paragraphs. So the first paragraph says, Hi, you don't know me, but my name is, and you're going to write what your name is. Now, you don't have to start that way. That's kind of informal. You might start by saying, Hello, Mrs. Hardwig. Let me introduce myself. My name is. Or you might say, Howdy, Ms. Lewis. How are you doing? My name is. But we don't want to try to be too funny. Okay, so we don't want it to be too informal because you really don't know my mother and she's an adult. So you want it to be a little bit more formal. So here we go. Hi, you don't know me, but my name is. I have long black hair that I wear in braids. I have brown eyes and I am about average height. I am in 3rd grade at Immaculata School. Mrs. Lewis is my teacher. You might just add something like that. When I am at school, so this is our second paragraph. You'll be working on this tomorrow. When I am at school, I really like to do, and then you're going to get to write what you like to do best, science experiments and activities. They are my favorite. Someday I want to be a scientist or maybe a doctor. I work hard and do my best at school, and I have good friends who I play with. We love to play silent ball. But you're going to write what you like the most. Maybe it's art, and you want to be an artist someday. Maybe you like math because you find it interesting, and maybe you've gotten better at math. You've been working hard all year to improve in math. Maybe you like reading and writing stories. Okay? And then you could also tell about your hobbies. You know, like Faith could talk about horseback riding. If you have dogs or pets, I know she'd love to hear if you have a dog or a cat and funny thing that it might do. And then on Wednesday, you'll start your 3rd paragraph. And I said, That's enough about me. How are you? Is it still winter in Minnesota? That should be a question mark. I heard it is very cold there. Have you driven a car out onto the icy lake? That sounds scary, but I would like to build a snowman. I hope you are well. Now, remember where my mom is from is Minnesota. And I'll tell you a little bit about Minnesota so you can ask her about that. She loves to grow flowers, so you might ask her if she's planted any flowers this season or if her flowers are coming up. Because here in North Carolina, I see lots of flowers blooming. You would not see a lot of flowers blooming yet in Minnesota. That won't be until June and July. So it's much colder up there. There are many, many lakes. There are no mountains, but there are many trees and many lakes. And people love to go swimming and boating and water skiing. So you might ask her something about Minnesota, like something about the weather or something about the lakes. People go fishing. Ask her about her dog. Okay, so you think of a question that you might like to ask her. And then you're going to sign it at the bottom, sincerely. And remember, we learned about what sincere means? It means honestly or truly. I truly mean all of this. And you'll sign your name. So, this is your first draft. Okay, this is in your packet. You can write this on a loose leaf sheet of paper or in a notebook also. But your final copy is going to be on this page that says final. I gave you one that says first draft and one that says final. So right now, this first draft, you might not be ready for the first draft today. You might just be brainstorming and writing down in your notebook some ideas for your first paragraph. So let's go back to that first paragraph again. Hi, you don't know me, but my name is, So you're going to start somehow, like that. Happy May, Mrs. Hardwig. My name is. Or, Mrs. Hardwig, I have heard things about you. Let me tell you, my name is. Okay? And you're going to be writing that. So we'll put that information up here about the date, May. And we probably will finish our final later this week. So let's say today's the 11th, 12th, 13th. Let's just put like May 15th, 2020. And then we'll write Immaculata. School. And then we'll put Hendersonville, North Carolina. NC, both capitalized. And then we're going to start with our letter. Dear Mrs. Hardwig, Hardwig. So that was my name before I got married to Mr. Lewis. Then you notice, if you look carefully, it's kind of hard to see, but I put a little tiny mark here to show that you should indent. So here's my indenting space. I might start with, hello, Mrs. Hardwig. I am, and you can give your name, and you can say, I have short blonde hair. I am, and you put your name. I have short blonde hair and blue eyes. Later you're going to go back through and you're going to notice, oh, wait a second, that's not the right blue. I should have written, remember this is your draft, so you'll go back through and make your corrections. And I have blue eyes. I am in 3rd grade, and my teacher is Ms. Lewis. Whatever you want to write. So look at my sample, look at this, think about what you want to write, and you only have to do your first draft of the first paragraph today. So that's writing only about 3, 4, 5 sentences. Okay, and tomorrow we'll work on the next paragraph. All right, see you then.